Furman here with my next episode of the Clone Wars Wisdom series. This is episode 17. I'm going to take the opening statement, talk a little bit about how I think it applies to wisdom or leadership principles. So, the idea with this is not so much that I think I'm the most wise person in the world or anything like that. I just wanted to share some thoughts on some things that ideas and concepts that have been very helpful for me, and I thought it might be helpful for you. So if they are, great. All right, so let's do this. The opening statement for this episode is: fear is a disease. Hope is its only cure. So, as usual, I usually kind of pick this apart, so I don't necessarily just take the whole thing. I usually kind of start with concepts in the statement. So I'm going to start with fear. Okay, so the big one that everybody uses for fear is using it as an acronym, saying false evidence appearing real. There's slight variations on that theme, but that's essentially what they mean. And basically, it's to point to that when we feel fear, it's actually in our head. Well, everything's in our head, for one. But just in this case, I'm just going to talk about it this way. So fear is a double-edged sword, right? It helps us discern between danger and not danger. So that's the plus side of it. But when it goes too far, when you're fearful of things that aren't dangerous, that's the negative side of it, the minus side of it. So that's kind of what this false evidence appearing real thing is being aware enough of your surroundings, the circumstances, your relationships, what's going on. You're aware of what's happening enough to a point where you actually can discern whether it is danger or not danger. And sometimes we label doubt as fear. Sometimes we label other thoughts in our heads and even other emotions as fearful. The other thing so there's that, right? I just want to distinguish that as fear. So the other thing about fear as a feeling, when you feel afraid, I'm actually afraid of something, that really does mean that your brain has triggered the danger mechanism and you're reacting physically with an emotion also with that reaction being stay away, it's dangerous. Totally legit, makes sense. And when a oncoming truck is coming at you, that's appropriate, right? When you're doing something for the first time, a new activity, being fearful of that activity I would say it's so much not the activity, but in your head, you've made it mean something's going to happen that's going to either hurt you or make you look foolish. It's going to hurt you either vanity-wise or reputation-wise, or something along those lines. So in that sense, it is dangerous because you don't want to appear foolish, but it's not a physical danger, right? So there's different levels to all this, and there's different types of this, of course. All right, so I'm sort of talking about all of that in the sense of it's in your head. That's what I meant. It's actually all created in your brain. So this fear isn't something you can open someone up and find. You can't find actual fear in somebody, right? It's just our innards, right? So you're not going to be able to discern just by a physical thing whether someone is full of fear and someone is not full of fear, right? It's not a tangible thing, is I guess another way to say what I'm saying. So that means if it's in our mind, we have the ability, and that's one of the reasons why human beings are amazing, is we have the ability to process that, right? We can take a moment and actually think about what actually is going on for us. Now, so there's that, right? So that means we can actually affect it. We can cause fear to subside. We can act in spite of fear, i.e. courage. We can ignore it. We have options. We don't have to succumb to fear. Whenever it shows up, we have to react that things are dangerous. We don't have to do it that way. Now, their statement is fear is a disease. So I'm not going to get too far into this, but a disease is different than an affliction. So they're saying fear is so strong that it will harm you. And disease dis-ease, right? It causes dis-ease. So in a literal sense, if you tear that word apart a little bit, it does that. It makes you feel uneasy. You have dis-ease. You're away from easiness. You're away from ease in your body. Okay. But they mean it, I think, not so much that, but more like a disease, an actual, affliction or ailment, right? So fear can affect you so much that you are debilitated, like a disease can. So it's just acknowledging that that fear can have a big grip on people, and you in particular. So then, okay, so there's that. They're saying it is a disease. Okay, treat it like that, and I think that's okay. I mean, in a way, they're not saying that, but when they bring that term up, they're saying disease. We need to eradicate diseases, right? That would be nice if we could eradicate disease. People would be less sick, and less pain would happen, and life would be better, right? So when you say something's a disease, it's something that we want to work on eliminating because it's causing people pain. Okay, and then the second part, hope is its only cure. So this is where I would say, yes, only is a pretty strong word. So I'm going to take issue with the only, but hope is a remedy to fear. When you are hopeful of something, you're hopeful of the future, something you're planning on doing, and you think, wow, that would be really great to do. Well, I think that can alleviate the fear of what's going to happen and just focus on the promise of the good that's going to happen. Instead of being fearful of the bad that's going to happen, hope is the opposite side of that, right? Which again, can be a double-edged sword. You can hope to a point where you're diminishing the fear and you take action. That's positive. You can hope so much that's all you focus on is all the good stuff, and you don't have to worry about anything, so you just wait for it to happen and you don't take action. That's actually a downside to hope. So there's a I would say like a midpoint in there somewhere, right, between the extremes. That's helpful the most, right? You want to be hopeful to a point where you take action, and hopefully, being very hopeful drives more action. You tip over that line, and you think, well, it's going to be awesome when that happens. I'll just wait for it to happen, and it's going to be great, and that's all you focus on. So you're being hopeful, but you're still not getting what you want, and so it doesn't happen. That actually is the downside of all that. Okay. So now this whole thing with only, and I actually already tipped my hat on this one. So I think there's something else about it. Well, okay, I'm formulating my thoughts as I'm speaking, of course. So hope it's only cure. So if you think of it as a cure, like hope will get rid of fear, then I would say maybe they're right, maybe. But I don't know if that's a practical way everybody deals with fear. They may think that. They may think they just got rid of their fear and went forward. Most people don't actually do it that way. What they do is use courage, and I already said it. Courage is acting in spite of fear. You don't get rid of the fear. You don't diminish the fear per se. You may not focus on it. You focus on taking action. So courage is action in the face of fear, along with fear, in spite of fear. So courage, it's not a cure for fear, it's just a way to function with it, right? So at first I was saying, hope is the only cure. I was thinking, well, maybe isn't courage a cure also? But in my definition, I'd have to say no, it's not. It's not a cure for fear. It's just acting along with it. So fear's there. You're just not letting it alter your actions, right? You can still feel fearful. You can still be fearful, have the fear. It's there, but take action anyway. Part of my journey in this whole idea of being a coach and consultant has been very, very long. And looking back, I know that fear was a large part of it. It was fear of not being equipped, and looking very foolish and just not being successful doing it because I didn't have the right expertise. What I didn't understand is that's a mentor. That's not a coach, right? There's a big difference between those two things. So my fear of what I perceived to be what a coach was and or consultant. Well, consulting is and expertise also. So I'm a consultant in certain areas where I feel I have expertise in. 3 main areas that I do that in: health and business development, and then also in the music entertainment world. That's an area where I've spent most of my adult life in as a professional, so I feel very confident that I can consult people in music, right? So I consult in those 3 areas. I don't promote that one as much. I'm more concerned about health and business development. That can reach a wider swath of people, so to speak. I can help more people if I approach it from that standpoint. But I still am happy to do consulting in music. Now, coaching, separate from, the reason I separate those two is coach doesn't require an expertise in a certain area. It allows, coaching allows other people to realize their solutions that they actually have within themselves, but it may be blinded to it by what stops them. One of those things, and this is how it's all tied together, one of those things, it shows up as fear. Fear stops people from realizing they have what it takes to handle what it is in front of them, and fear can be a big block for them. That can be a big part of the reason that they are held back. And so this statement is great because it gives a quick way to kind of think about fear differently. Well, how can I handle it? Well, if you think about the future, if you think about what you really want, being hopeful of what you want can cure fear. Meaning, it'll take your attention away from it, it'll give it less energy, you can put more energy into the hope side, and then that will allow you to take action more easily. So I think that's where the cure comes in, like that's how it cures fear in a way. That's one way to explain it. And so it's very helpful. So I think that's great. I think that's a really, really good thing. There's nothing wrong with having fear, but having it stop you is where things get goofy, right? That's where things go sideways. All right, that's my thought. This one as a statement, it's got some little twists and turns into it, but definitely got some good thoughts in there. So let me know if you got any questions. If you'd like to ask me about coaching or consulting in different areas, be happy to help with that. You can reach me at the contact information and my website for sure at e3lc.net, and reach me through that and let me know what I can do to help you out. Thanks a lot. See you next time.